All right, it's time for a quick update. This is mostly the same, except for the obvious differences, that being that we've gone to 4 blades, and in order to accommodate 4 blades, we have extended the root of the rotor out 1 block to keep them symmetrical. This has changed, as a consequence, slightly the distance between the phased links and the links that are broadcasting. The timing still has them both turning off, or actually, I'm sorry, this actually wasn't in the last version, I don't believe. I had fixed it with these new mast arrangements that are designed to make the distance between each link. See, the upper links control the output of the upper links controls the top side of the rotor, and the output of the bottom links controls the bottom of the rotor. And in this configuration, they are perfectly equidistant. So when the ascending blade changes, the descending blade also changes at the same time, which was a major source of trouble in the past. So that's fixed in this design. This is now in a slightly larger distance overall, and since, as I understand, these distances are spherical, that means that the region that the blade is commanded up or down is slightly smaller than it used to be. It doesn't seem much smaller. I'm not sure the particulars on the math for range on these. To explain how they work, I've been over this sort of briefly in the past, but this helicopter design only has cyclic roll because it's a tandem rotor helicopter, so we accomplish pitch by varying the collective on the forward and back rotor, and collective is, of course, collective. I guess technically we also have cyclic yaw, but that happens on the roll axis. So we only have 2 masts. They both link to the top and bottom of the rotor, and it's just a mix between roll and yaw, which were a mix on roll sides and yaw sides, hence the cross patterns that trigger the blades under or above these links to go either up or down. It works a lot like a Hall effect sensor, an electric motor, where as the rotor passes over it or passes through this region, it receives the link signal that says go up or down, which means that these can just be solid state, and we have very little redstone logic overall, which is nice. This is the same setup. These are all just linked straight through. There's nothing weird going on here. Stacked in order to get to 4 blades, because I've been trying to avoid using additional mods. It's just a thing that I prefer to do. Oh, one other difference is the blades are now narrower, just because I need less lift because I have 2 more of them on either side. All right, so I will first demonstrate the control articulation as we have it now, and then we'll take a quick flight, and I'll show you the improvements. So this is a pitch forward. And I'm noticing, actually, that it doesn't work properly because one of those blades isn't being articulated. I've never actually looked at it from third person. I am not entirely sure what to do about that as yet. Like, we could try to increase the range, but that will screw with the distance to the Hall effect sensors, quote unquote, and we would have to move where they are. And I am supposed to go play War Thunder with some friends, so we're going to do a flight like this. I know it flies like this as is. Yeah, it was a little too fast. I think it's about 56 RPM these days. Yeah. So the first thing you'll notice is that we have much less jerk when making attitude changes. It doesn't snap between angles anymore. You can see a little bit of yaw here as I change my pitch attitude. That is because of that blade that isn't articulating. But you'll notice it's pretty smooth yaw, and we can now demonstrate that the actual intended yaw control is substantially improved from how it used to be. I still have to fight it, mostly with pitch. For whatever reason, yaw generates some pitch input. I'm not entirely sure why. It probably has to do with whether one of the blades. You know what? I'm not even going to theorize right now because I really don't know why. But aside from the pitch impact, it's still slow, but it's now consistent, and I don't have to tap it or any of that weird stuff. And we can see that this is true on roll also. In the last video, I'm sure you could tell that I was all over the controls trying to keep this in the air, and you can hear the typewriter going off. But this is not nearly as bad. It still takes a fairly active pilot. It is still a helicopter, but it's much more manageable now than it used to be. And I think most of that, so that just going to 4 blades is a recent thing as of this morning. I also worked on it last night and the night before. And the change in design for the Hall effect sensors that got them truly equidistant, that was a very, very big improvement. That got the yaw to be kind of manageable, and going to 4 blades sort of solved the rest of that. But notably, it did not eliminate the jitter like I thought it would. Actually, it was going to 4 blades that eliminated the jitter. As for what causes the jitter exactly, I'm not completely certain. I've had some discussions both in the YouTube comments and now on the Discord server about whether or not helicopters in Minecraft experience phase lag, where the input for the cyclic has to be offset from the intended resultant angle, which is normal for a real helicopter. The forward cyclic doesn't actually tilt the cyclic exactly forward. There is a different angle that's chosen because of gyroscopic precession and some other effects. Okay, this is what I get for trying to record this bullshit quite literally on the fly. Phase lag is not gyroscopic precession. Like, by definition, it's not. It is an aerodynamic and mechanical effect. Now, whether precession is involved in the apparent torque offset that helicopters experience, that is the subject of a few forum flame wars that I just do not have the time to research who is right or why. Whatever's going on here is more than I can glean from Wikipedia in the little bit of time that I have. I would think, at least for a rigid rotor, that some level of torque due to precession would be inevitable, but suffice to say that I don't really know what's going on here or how much of which is. What I do know is 2 things. One, that real helicopters have to offset their cyclic inputs to get the desired result, and 2, helicopters in Minecraft experience a force offset that resembles the one we see in real helicopters. Whether they happen for the same reason or can be predicted with the same parameters is, at least to me, an open question for now. If you'll permit me to speculate, one of the things I saw argued in the Flame War was that precession always represents a 90-degree offset, and many helicopters have a phase lag of less than 90 degrees. This is a very good point. In a second, I'll go on to describe an experiment I did, testing to see if I could correct for phase lag by moving my cyclic control mast thingies by 90 degrees. And I'll say that the result was very similar to the unrotated masts, and conclude that, because of this, the phase lag of the helicopter must be less than 90 degrees, as I otherwise should have lost almost all of my roll authority. That suggests to me that precession is probably not the primary culprit here either. My money is on raw tick delay causing most of it, actually, which wouldn't really count as phase lag if you're being pedantic about it, but I think that definition will do for our purposes. If I understand correctly, phase lag in real life, by the exact definition, is pretty much all about blade flapping, and we have a rigid rotor here, and we're not doing any of that. The next question is this phasing angle a function of the speed of the rotor? And when it comes to the real thing, I don't really know. But in the case of Minecraft, if I am right about the signal delay problem, then it would definitely be a factor. The signal to tilt would simply be reaching the rotor blades late. For the purposes of this video and probably future ones, I'm going to keep calling this phenomenon phase lag, even if my grandfather would probably have my head for abusing the term like that. So when I say phase lag, what I mean is the apparent difference in angle between cyclic input and the resultant torque, regardless of why that difference is occurring. After all, for now, we don't know why. And I say all this quite literally in Minecraft. We'll clear the air on the specifics if and when we can figure out where the offset we see in Minecraft comes from. My apologies to any rotorcraft pilots in the audience. So there was a question of, does this happen here? And I hadn't been noticing it in the past. And I think the reason I hadn't been noticing it is because this is a tandem helicopter, and that's the only way that I've ever really seriously tried to do anti-torque so far. So I experimented with changing my Hall effect masts directly to the front and back of the rotors rather than the sides. And the consequence of that was a helicopter that flew almost exactly the same, with no other changes. Like, they were still performing roll control and still bound in that way, and the helicopter still flew like they were on the sides, basically. And what that tells me is that there is significant phase lag, and that what's actually happening is the phase lag is being hidden by the rotor arrangement, the tandem rotor arrangement. So what's happening is, like, if I was flying this as a single rotor, if you imagine it was torqueless for a second and I were to pitch forward or cyclic forward, the rotor would probably actually cyclic like 40, it would actually tilt like 45 degrees to the left and right instead of strictly forward. I'm guessing maybe in the 45-degree range, but that is a guess. What I conclude from my tests with the masts in the 90-degree rotated position is that it must neither be forward nor entirely 90 degrees, given the helicopter never developed reverse controls while I was doing that, or, roll never started trying to represent pitch. It felt the same pretty much the whole time. So the amount of phase lag must be somewhere between those values. How we would deal with that is an open question. The first thing that it occurred to me to do is mount the Hall effect sensors rather than having them on, fixed to the fuselage. You could mount them to a gimbal of their own and rotate them around the rotor to get them to exactly the phase offset that they need to be at, and just determine that experimentally. Haven't done that yet. It's going to be kind of big. I'm trying to avoid things that would require a ton of setup after pasting the helicopter. But I might resort to that. We'll probably experiment with it. The other option is to just play with the RPM using either the perfectly cardinal direction system that I've got going here, or the 90-degree offset system. Play with RPM until I find an RPM that causes the phase lag to be correct for the sensor configuration that I have. This assuming that whatever sort of phase lag it is that we're seeing in Minecraft is a function of rotor RPM, which is probably what I'm going to start trying to do. I've experimented with it a little bit here, but I haven't gotten too deep into it yet. Doing that means that the rotors will have to run at a constant RPM, and altitude control will have to be cyclic based, which I had been hoping to avoid, but whatever. If it produces better control, I'm certainly not going to complain. So that will probably be my next area of inquiry. But as I imagine you've probably noticed, this is much nicer than it used to be. I can just sort of fly it around wherever I want. I don't have to be all over the controls. And this is with that error in pitch input where one of the blades isn't moving correctly. So I am pretty happy with these improvements. That's pretty much all there is to say on the matter. I'm going to bring this around and set it down again. Unless I've gone and gotten myself lost. Where'd my runway go? I think it's over there. Yeah. It's a good sign if I was able to get myself a bit lost, I think. But anyway, yeah, I think that's about all of the major changes that have happened so far. Going to 4 blades is a massive improvement. Anybody working on this sort of thing, I would suggest that you just cut to the chase and do that. It made my life much better immediately. I started today expecting to get very incremental gains, if any improvement at all, and I got instead really extraordinary improvements. So that 4 blades is good. 4 blades good. Why is 4 blades good? Don't know, really. That's where we're at right now. Again, I don't actually have negative cyclic control, so I can't land. But I have more positive control of the aircraft, so I also can avoid slamming into the ground. And I guess we'll just let it on its own and hope for the best. All right, I will update with anything else I manage to learn. At least that's what I would say if I hadn't accidentally kept working. I give you all long Chinook. It doesn't look like much, but it looks like something. And in the course of starting to look like something, it turns out it flies better too. I think this is owed almost entirely to the increase in mass and maybe also to shifting that mass towards the rotor. But questions for another day. For now, let's go flying. The first thing you'll notice is that I just yawed directly onto a heading. I still had to fight the pitch. That, alas, is still with us. But it's getting to the point where I'd actually be willing to tolerate it on a quote-unquote production helicopter. Still hoping to do better, though.